Hello everybody, welcome back to the garden. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. Today's episode is going to be all about leafcutter bees. Some of you might have noticed this awesome t-shirt that was sent for me from Midas Bees, and Tom from Midas Bees actually sent us a bunch of other things as well. Today I really want to talk about leafcutter bees, why they're important to the ecosystem as a whole, and why you can benefit from having them growing in your backyard. Besides a cool project, these leafcutter bees really provide an important role in the ecosystem. When it comes to pollinating flowers, Tom Hankey has found that these leafcutter bees were dwindling in population. Overall, we're seeing dropping populations of solitary bees, which are native bees, because of the different applications of pesticides and herbicides that are being used in modern agriculture. Tom saw this as a big issue, as many of us have as well, which is why I really wanted to set up a bee barn in my backyard. And I'm so thankful for Tom for sending these out to me, because it's a great way to get my feet wet in beekeeping, as I hope to grow and advance in this skill over many, many years to come. I'm so excited for this, and I hope you guys are too. I will have a link down below to Midas Bees right here. MidasBees.com for you guys to check out. And if you purchase any of their products using the code WWG for Wisconsin Wonder Garden, you can get 10% off anything that you order. So again, enter in the code WWG to get 10% off your order and help out the ecosystem and environment by buying some of these leafcutter bees. Some of you might not be aware, but leafcutter bees actually have a pollination rate of around 95%. While the honeybee that we see flying around, the non-native European honeybee, that pollination rate is less than 5% in some cases. So pollination is the name of the game when it comes to leafcutter bees, and why we've got to be growing them in our backyard. These were some of the very first bees that were native to actually be domesticated in gardens. So leafcutter bees are a great beginner resource for people to start out beekeeping, and the whole process is actually rather simple. I think you guys are going to love this, and after this video I really do hope that you buy some leafcutter bees and a bee barn for your own backyard so you can help out your garden and the ecosystem around you. Tom sent me a couple of different things in the survival package for the leafcutter bees, and I'm going to go through that right now and show you guys the different aspects of the products that he has. The very first one is going to be these cocoon tubes right here. What happens is when the leafcutter bee has gone through its life cycle and is ready to lay the cocoons, what they'll do is they'll enter in the tube and lay the cocoons in tubes. Also, we have a block right here that is going to be full of cocoons. Those are going to hatch for us too after a certain period of time, after these bees have hibernated and gone dormant in the winter. They sense the temperature regulation, just nature does its thing, and then these bees emerge from their cocoons. And that's what we're getting ready for. We want to get this out here in the weather before they emerge inside. Another really important factor is this right here. This is a pheromone blanket that we're going to use in this bee barn to make sure that the bees know where to come back to after going out and seeking pollen for the first time in the season. This pheromone blanket here, this wrap, is really going to help make sure that we keep this population here in this bee barn and they don't go and seek out other locations. This is going to help keep your bee colony thriving and surviving very well. Especially when establishing a brand new barn like this one, they don't really know to run back to the place that they hatched from, so that pheromone is really beneficial. We also got sent out some loose cocoons, and of course I'm going to show you guys close-ups of all these products in a second so you can see what to do and how to install them in your bee barn. And then lastly, we got some empty cartridges, if you will, right here that we're going to replace in the bee barn once these ones have hatched out. That way they have a nice sterile environment to grow in over the winter for those cocoons. Otherwise, they might be introduced to some disease and other pests that can damage those cocoons. So a sterilized environment is really, really recommended and actually needed when keeping these over winter and when they're about to lay their cocoons for the next season. So the first thing I want to talk about is these tubes right here. Now these leafcutter bees actually have a really interesting way of laying their eggs that I think you guys are going to be intrigued by. So this is the tube that the leafcutter bees lay their cocoons in. As you can see, one end isn't quite finished off, and then the other end looks like it's capped and indented a little bit. You can see right there, those are kind of capped off and smooth. And then the other end is a little bit rough. So what we've got to do with these tubes is actually put them so that capped end is facing outwards so that those eggs emerge first. The way that these are laid is actually really, really interesting. The eggs are laid in order from female to male. The females are in first and then the males are in last. That way the male eggs hatch first in the season. They can go out and gather pollen and all of that energy that they need so that by the time the females emerge, they're ready to do their business and create more bees for us. If the females emerged first, they wouldn't be able to reproduce the way they do. That's why it's so important to have that capped end outwards. So those male eggs come out first, are ready to do their thing, and come back and create more bees for you guys. Here's a close-up of the loose cell cocoons. If you notice, it looks like they're wrapped around with something. The reason why leafcutter bees are called leafcutter bees is because to create these cocoons, they actually go out and take pieces of leaves from our plants and then producing those cocoons with that material. I think it's the neatest thing, and I'm so excited to get some close-up shots of the bees doing their thing here in the garden. Tom said he'd also be really interested to see what sort of plants that these bees pollinate, because originally they're mostly used for alfalfa fields, massive fields of wildflowers and alfalfa growing. But they haven't really been observed up close and personal in backyards like this one, which is another reason why I would really encourage you guys to take part in this experiment and start raising your own leafcutter bees at home. We can all take part in this to make sure that we have better pollination around the world. We're creating better plants, better trees, better fruits, and better harvests for everybody by taking part in this. So let's take a look at this bee house here and show you guys how we're going to convert it then to hold these leafcutter bees instead of the mason bees that this is made for. So what we've got to do here is get rid of these larger sections here that are made for the mason bees and then convert it to this block. Again, like I said before, it's really important that when putting this block in here, we have this wrapped around it. And then I think there's just enough room for some of these tubes to fit snug around the side and edges of this block here. So there's two little screws on the bottom of this house that I need to take out in order to remove this holding piece here. Just like that. Now we can pull this block out here. So what I'm going to do is just place some of these original pieces in here with enough room to fit this block nice and snug on the top. I think maybe I can get one or two more in there. Yeah, just one more. And then I will wrap this pheromone blanket around here. Again, that pheromone blanket is really, really crucial to make sure that those bees are going to come back to this spot. That fits nice and snug in there, and that's not going anywhere. So we're going to secure this back into place. And then what I'm going to do is just take these cells here, making sure, again, that that capped end is out, and I'm going to place them into these holes here. All right, all the rest I tucked into that side there, and that's all of the tubes that we have here. we've got this whole thing filled up with a bunch of cocoons. There's probably several hundred cocoons here that are ready to emerge. And then we've got all of this loose cell here. What I'm gonna do with this is place this into a separate container. I'm gonna make a little home for it so it doesn't get too wet and have it out here. This can be just sitting in like a Tupperware container or something like that. They don't have to be placed into these holes, but if I really wanted to, I could probably dump them all into these, but just setting them into a container on the side, as long as it doesn't get soaking wet with the rain and weather, will be okay. Later on, to prepare this for the bees coming back in the cocoons takes a little bit of extra work, and I'm gonna be having another video on that for you guys, so stay tuned for that one. But this is how you're gonna wanna set up your bee house. Now, it might vary a little bit compared to mine, but generally you guys will get the point and be able to get yours up and running in no time. I want to thank you guys all so much for watching today. Again, I really hope that you take part in this and start raising your own bees at home. Again, you can use the code WWG at checkout to get 10% off your products from Midas Bees. Thank you all so much for watching today. I hope you found today's video entertaining and possibly even learned a little bit. Thank you all, happy gardening, and we'll see you in the next episode.